and welcome to Time Twisted. I am Demetri and I am your host and presenter forever. That's a frightening thought, isn't it? Well, it won't be forever because I'm 60 and yeah. So what I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about sort of in a quick way the population and global warming. It's sort of combined thing. So I'm going to give you a quick statistic. The population of the world in 1939 was around 3.2 billion. It is now around 8 billion. So you can see a problem there in itself. It's the fastest growth, I believe, in human species ever, as in that capacity. Now, at the moment in the world, we are being told, especially in the Western Hemisphere, and I think China, that we need to have more children because we have a growing elderly population. Now, the problem with that is, well, two things. I'm elderly, I'm 60, I'm elderly, and I have a right, and so do they, to exist because we've worked damn hard for our countries and our families, and we deserve to live as long as we can, hopefully not in pain, because I don't want to be kept alive if I'm in a bad, sorry state. So the governments are telling us to have more kids. Now the problem with that is in 50 to 70 years' time, you're going to have even more elderly people. And it's just a vicious cycle, and it can only lead to doom. Now, we need to curb the population of this planet by at least 3 billion. How do you do that? Long-term plan, of course. Yes, I believe we need, and I know China had the issues over this because they didn't do it right, and it's going to sound draconian to you, but we need to maybe limit ourselves to 2 kids per family. And it is, you say, draconian dictatorship. Sorry about that Chinese thing, I didn't mean that. But if you want to save the planet and humanity, you need to do things like this. You need to have such rules, and you need to put aside religions, where you have as many kids as possible. We need to save our planet, and it is the humans that are the greatest threat, not pollution. Well, there is pollution, but not pollution by cars or by fossil fuels or anything like that. It's humans again. Now think about this. There's 8 billion people. Excuse me here, but 8 billion people sitting, weeing, breathing out carbon dioxide 24/7, creating rubbish that's unparalleled. So our rubbish in my house gets collected about every week. So we have a different one, and we have our recycle one every 2 weeks. Which, if you know your facts, for a small fraction of the stuff that is supposed to be recycled actually gets recycled. It gets sent to other countries for their landfills, and then every other week, refuse. Stuff that's going to be in big holes in the ground, and it's our bins are full, and there's only 2 to 3 of us, depending in this house, and that's just us. So just think about that. It's 8 billion people doing that. Farting, breathing. So a car, in a car, people will have an average time in a car, let's say an hour a day, half hour to an hour a day, average people. We're breathing out carbon dioxide, blowing off methane, whatever, 24/7. So again, human beings. Now the other thing, of course, is this government corporate thing is we want more kids, more workers. The other problem with this, of course, is we have AI and robotics sort of coming into our arena now. In my opinion, they're going to be the end of us because they're being programmed by flawed human beings. That can only lead to AI at some time going, well, actually we're stronger, faster, quicker, and humans are no longer needed. So it might be something like a nanovirus in our water, and we won't even be aware about it. Forget about Terminator War, because we'd lose that anyway, but it's going to be subatomic. Is that right? at the moment, the need for human resources in places like factories, are dwindling because robots work 24/7, they're more efficient, and they're cheaper. So the need for human resources is dwindling. So again, there's a problem there. The other problem is resources, of course. It's all very well, as I said, saying, oh, there's loads of land space. It's not about that. We already have water problems in the world. We have food problems. We have in Britain, for example, we probably import more than we export. Food for abroad. By the time it gets here, any vitamins and minerals in it are gone, practically. So just think about all these problems. If a war doesn't finish us off at the moment, whether it's China or America, Russia, Middle East, it's just Sudan. Oh God, it's a right mess at the moment. And also because the more humans you get, for some reason, they become more tribal in fighting for space. Everybody's encroaching on each other's space. So people get protective, and it's just. For somebody like me who's 60 years old, who might sound, you might say, "Hey, you're just being nostalgic to the past." I'm telling you, it wasn't like that. There's always been problems at any age, of course, but people weren't this angry and have this tendency to be so violent. Another thing is, it was my wife's birthday on Monday, and we drove down to a place called Blue Water, and it's just, 40 years ago, I know things changed, but 40 years ago, there would be, you'd drive there, you might see one or two cars, and now it's just endless flow of traffic. I was also remembering, nostalgically as well, so when I was 17, 18, you would drive down to Cornwall, which is a place in southwest England, beautiful, stunning place, Arthurian legends, etc., where you would drive down 250, 60 miles away, and you so seldomly see a car that they'd wave at you from the car like you're on an adventure, and you were in a sense because cars were less reliable then, and if you made it, it was like, yay, we made it. Now, and it's just it's a shame. It's a shame. So, energy. Hopefully nuclear fusion will become a thing. Fusion reactors, solar energy is a good thing. I don't think, as I said, electric cars or even wind turbines are great. We need to use our water energy, use tidal flows, etc. But thinking about wind turbines, that's what you're talking about, population. But wind turbines, for example, I think there's a place in Germany where there's thousands of tons of the blades of these wind turbines that cost a lot of money to build. Anyway, the blades can't be recycled, apparently, so they aren't the answer. Solar, nuclear fusion. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on too much, but I am just basically saying, as I said, the population of this planet is too vast. Not for the size of the planet, not for the land mass, but for each other, resources, diseases. We need a long-term plan, basically, and these long-term plans, I know in my draconian thing of 2 kids, is to save the planet. And of course, unfortunately, then you're fighting cultures, religions, as I said. But you either want to save the human race, or you want to dwindle into obscurity. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm not going to ramble on too much because it's my first podcast, and apparently if you ramble on too long, people start to... So I'm going to have my goblet of cider. I'm looking at the microphone. Goblet of cider. Wish you all good health, happiness, and cheer. It's an angry world at the moment. Anger, energy, everything's energy. Anger attracts anger. It will make you feel angrier, and you will just... Yeah, and it's a waste of life and time. It's too short to waste on anger. Alright, speak to you soon on my next podcast.